My husband, Griffin, is a severe germaphobe. He won't touch anything he deems unclean, including me. Yet because the elders demanded a legitimate heir, he still came on our wedding night. The moment those hands touched me, I froze. They were warm, the pads roughened by the thinnest layer of callus. Nothing like Griffin's pampered, ice-cold grip. In the dark, I smiled. What a brilliant daylight robbery sleight of hand. I lay stiffly on the 2-meter king bed while the wedding night crawled past. The shower in the adjoining bathroom cut off. Griffin, my brand new groom, stepped out. I couldn't see his face in the blackout, only the foreign scent of his body wash. Not the brand he always used, the Arctic cedar note that smelled like frozen metal. This was bright lemongrass, clean and unexpected. My heart sank, inch by inch. He settled beside me. The mattress sagged beneath his weight. Then a warm body curved toward mine. Instinctively, I locked every muscle. Don't be scared. The voice was hoarse, strangely gentle, his and yet not. Griffin speaks in blades of ice, every syllable honed to draw blood. This pitch copied the cadence, but carried a warmth I couldn't name. A palm, careful and steady, covered my shoulder. Heat radiated from it, not the clammy chill of Griffin's sun-starved skin. I stayed motionless, letting the stranger hold me with the stiff caution of a boy at his first dance. My mind went white. I'd always known Griffin didn't love me. Our marriage was a business card the families were trading. But I never expected him to humiliate me this thoroughly, so disgusted that he would outsource his own wedding night. Right, the germophobia. And the way he loathes me. From the first time we met, he'd looked at me, as though I carried plague. In the dark, I laughed. No sound, only tears gliding into my hair. The hand felt my tremor and paused. Then, clumsy as a child, it patted my back, once, twice, finding an odd, soothing rhythm. Somehow that awkward kindness dulled the edges of my revulsion and hate.
Fine.
You want a performance, Griffin? Let's give them one. Let's see exactly whose benefit you're playing to. I rolled over and fitted myself to the unfamiliar body, looping an arm around his waist. Through thin cotton, I felt his muscles snap rigid. I pressed my face to his chest, let my voice crack, and murmured, "Honey." Every tendon in him locked. A long time passed, so long I thought he would shove me away, before a muffled drifted from above. Underneath the grunt, the faint tremor of someone cornered. I grinned and tightened my hold. The night was endless, and the night was gone. I don't know when I finally slept. When I woke the next dawn, the bed was empty, just an echo of crisp lemongrass on the sheets. I sat up, took in the disheveled duvet and the shocking scarlet bloom in its center. Last night had been real. I unlocked my phone and opened the chat thread with Griffin. The last message from yesterday afternoon read, "Have a meeting tonight. We'll be late." Meeting. Sure, meeting between someone else's sheets. I deleted the chat with blank efficiency, got up, showered. In the mirror, the woman staring back was pale, eyes bruised and blazing. I pulled my lips into a smile. "Sophie, the game has started." Downstairs, Griffin was already at the breakfast table. Immaculate suit, not a hair out of place, eyes skimming the finance page. Morning light flooded through the French doors, gilding him like some corporate icon. He duplicated the real Griffin perhaps 70%, the same sculpted aloofness, but the bone-deep arrogance wasn't there. Footsteps on marble made him glance up. Our gaze collided, then slid away. "Sleep well." The chill delivery he'd been practicing sounded almost perfect. I slid into the chair opposite. The housekeeper poured coffee and set a plate before me. I took a bite of croissant, asking casually, "What time did you get in?" I think I'd already crashed. A minute tremor ran through his fingers. The newspaper fluttered. "Meeting ran late," he said, gaze still nailed to columns of stock figures.
Oh.
I sipped milk slowly. "By the way, the scar on your wrist looks healed. I noticed it only a few days ago." I watched him like a sniper. His knuckles whitened around the paper. The air congealed. Half a minute later, he lowered the page and met my stare. His irises were dark water, hiding deep trenches. Tiny cut. It closed fast. Flawless. But a tremor leaked through. I was betting he didn't know Griffin's scar was counterfeit. Makeup Griffin would paint on each morning, claiming it was a childhood souvenir earned while saving little me. I'd cried over that hero wound, only to discover it wiped off with toner. A prop meant to chain me to gratitude, and to the merger altar. This stranger obviously hadn't received the memo. My lips curved in mock relief. Good that it's gone. I returned to my croissant, conversation over. We finished the meal inside a coffin of silence. He rose, briefcase in hand, paused at the foyer. "I'll be back for dinner," I answered without looking up. The lock clicked. I lifted my eyes, glare sharpening to ice. That evening he returned, carrying a box dessert. "Saw it on the way, brand you used to like." He set the cake on the console, voice tight. The bakery logo froze me. Back in college, I'd hawkishly courted Griffin. The entire campus had watched the farce. For his birthday, I queued 3 hours outside that very shop for his favorite Black Forest gatto. He never even glanced at it, strolled off with his friends. I ate the cake alone on the dorm steps, mascara bleeding. Since then, I'd boycotted the store. Griffin could know, he'd never logged my preferences, so how did this double earn it? "Funny," I murmured. "How did you know I liked it?" He shifted, caught off guard. "Didn't you always mention it?" I must have amnesia then. I rose, walked to him, tilted my chin. "Griffin, are you keeping secrets?" At this range, I could inventory every fleck of unease in his pupils. Panic, guilt, a flicker of dread. His throat bobbed. He stepped back half an inch. "No." "Really? Then remind me, where did we first meet?" His dark eyes contracted. Lips parted but produced no address. I sneered inwardly. Of course he stalled. The authentic first encounter hadn't been the orchestrated mixer, the Van Cess arranged. It was a rain night. A mugger nabbed my purse. I huddled at a bus stop, sobbing like a stray pup. A black umbrella paused above me. Its owner handed over a tissue and $100 bill, left without a word. I never saw his face, only caught the glacial cedar scent that, months later, I mistakenly pinned on Griffin in an arranged dinner. Can't place it? Figures. The famous Griffin can't be expected to log trivial details. I spun toward the staircase. Toss the cake. I don't eat that flavor anymore. Behind me, silence thick enough to choke on. I didn't look back. Inside my room, I locked the door and dialed a number. "Find something for me." "Who?" Any unfamiliar face orbiting Griffin. Someone who could pass for his twin. My contact hesitated. "Sophie, you're not suggesting. Just dig." I killed the call and slumped against the bed frame, energy drained. A text dinged. Griffin, a voice memo. I tapped play. Frigid voice. "Everything in place?" A second mail answered. "Last night's stand-in." "It's all set, Vance." "Good. Keep your head down. Don't covet what isn't yours. After she's pregnant, you vanish. Payment will be wired." "Understood." The memo ended. I clutched the phone until the case creaked. So that's the script. The stand-in wasn't here to degrade me. He was a pawn in Griffin's surrogate womb scheme. He wants a child, just not with me. A surrogate womb scheme. He finds me filthy, refuses to touch me, yet he needs a baby carrying Vance blood to cement his throne. So, he hired a man who looks like him to do the planting in his place. Once I'm pregnant, the body double will be erased. Perfect crime, no fingerprints. Nice play, Griffin. I'm shaking so hard I nearly crushed the phone. A knock lands on the door. "Sophie, open up." It's the double. I suck in air, force myself calm, walk over, and turn the handle. He stands there holding a steaming mug of milk. "Drink this, you'll sleep better." There's something in his eyes I can't read. Guilt? Pity? I smile. Sure. I take the mug and gulp it dry, then hit play on the voice memo right in front of him. Color evacuates his face. He gapes, lips trembling, wordless. Caught every word. I beam. "My dear husband." He staggers back, shoulder thudding against the wall. When did you? When did I know? I finish.
From the first time you touched me.
I savor the crash happening across his features. Revenge tastes sweet. Tell me your name. His mouth seals shut. No. I lift a brow.
Fine.
A man about to vanish doesn't really need a name, does he? The sentence stabs. He flinches, eyes wide with shock and fear. What do you mean? Exactly what I said. I step closer, fingers brushing his cheek. Griffin promised, once I'm knocked up, you disappear. Which kind, body bag or social death? His muscles quiver under my touch. Here's your fork in the road, I whisper against his ear. Help me or burn with him. His pupils shrink to pinpoints. Why, he croaks. Because I refuse to lose, and I damn sure won't let Griffin win. Silence. At last he lifts his gaze. Asher. I grin. Welcome aboard, Asher. From that night on we perform a silent play. In front of housekeeper we're the picture of newlywed bliss. He dishes food onto my plate, cracks jokes, takes me on slow walks. The tenderness, the attentiveness, Griffin could never fake it. More than once I trick myself into believing I actually married a man who loves me, until darkness falls and he lies beside me, careful not to let our skins meet. Then I remember. None of it is real. We're two dancers on a wire, one slip from splatter. Griffin drops by now and then, scanning me with cold, awed eyes, always landing on my belly. The naked hunger there turns my stomach. He never stays the night. A few empty pleasantries and he's gone, certain every pawn is still glued to his board, blind to the traitor in his ranks. One evening Asher simmers soup for me. I lean on the doorframe, watching dusk pour molten gold over his rolled-up sleeves and simple white tee. This version of him feels alive, nothing like the wax figure impersonating Griffin, and annoyingly attractive. I break the quiet. Asher, why say yes to Griffin? His ladle pauses. Needed the money.
Lame.
A man built like this could cash his looks a dozen other ways. I don't buy it. My guess? Revenge. He goes rigid. Turning, he meets my stare, guarded and cornered. I don't know what you're talking about.
Please.
Only blood-deep hate makes a man rent out his own shadow. I step into the kitchen, crowding him against the cabinets. What did the Van Cess steal from you? He looks away. Not your business. It is when we share a sinking boat. Your enemy is my enemy. His breath roughens. My fist knots in his collar.
Talk.
Why crawl into Griffin's life? The storm in his eyes finally breaks. I want him destroyed, stripped of everything. I release him.
Good.
That's exactly my plan. After that, we're more than allies. We're wounded animals sharing heat. I learn Griffin spends Wednesday afternoons at Mercury, and that his company is circling a career-making bid. Asher learns passwords, learns where Griffin hides the safe key, intel flowing both ways like synchronized clockwork. 1 month later, the test stick shows 2 pink lines. Holding the fake ultrasound, my hand trembles, half thrill, half dread. Asher beside me is paler than the paper. This should never have been your life, he murmurs, voice cracking with guilt. I slide the report into my purse without reply. When I call Griffin, ecstatic static fills the line. Really? That's fantastic. Sophie, you're my lucky star. He even coos my name, first time ever, sending revolt through my gut. I'll come home tonight. Rest, don't worry about anything. I stare out the window, frost icing my veins. Party's over, Griffin. That night he arrives draped in carrier bags of prenatal tonics and a smile plastic wrapped to perfection. He even hugs me. I swallow bile and allow it. Thank you, darling. After the baby, you'll want for nothing. I close my eyes, smiling. Can't wait. He thinks pregnancy equals victory, thinks the finish line is inches away.
Fool.
The moment I allied with his double, the king stopped controlling the board. Now he's home constantly, playing super husband, pouring water, steering me down the grand staircase, patrolling the garden beside me. The staff whispers what a saint he is. Only I see the calculator behind his eyes, ticking off the shares my womb will secure. Asher turns phantom when Griffin's around, locked in his room, a forgotten prop. The second Griffin's car glides through the gates. He reappears, scanning me for fresh damage. Did he touch you? No. He won't relax until his eyes finish their inspection.
Keep distance.
The man's insane. So are we. He freezes, then laughs bitterly. Yeah, certifiable. The doorbell slices the moment. Housekeeper opens to Vivian, current screen siren, and Griffin's publicly denied pet. Snow-white sundress, watercolor eyes. She blinks for a second before arranging her face into tragic fragility. Vance. She called me timidly. I arched an eyebrow. Something on your mind? I came to see Griffin. Her eyes reddened as she spoke. I'm pregnant. Before I could answer, Asher behind me clenched his fist so hard the knuckles cracked. An icy aura rolled off him. I glanced back, signaling him to stay calm. Then I turned to Vivian and smiled. Oh, really? Congratulations. My reaction clearly wasn't what she'd expected. She froze. You're not angry? Why should I be? I countered. If Griffin has the talent to knock up 2 women at once, that's his prowess. As his wife, I ought to be happy for him. I paused, then shifted tone. However, I sized her up. Does Griffin acknowledge the baby? Her face whitened. Of course he does. Good. I nodded. Come in and sit. Standing must be tiring. I ushered her into the living room and personally poured her a glass of water. She perched on the sofa, fidgeting like a frightened bunny. I sat opposite, leisurely studying her. I knew she'd come to flaunt her belly, to force my hand. Too bad she'd picked the wrong opponent. Not only would I not get mad, I would help her. Lane, I began. What do you plan to do? I want to keep the baby, she whispered. Keep it? I smiled. But the Vance family will never recognize an illegitimate child. Her face turned even paler. Then what can I do? Don't panic. Isulthe. There's always a way. I leaned closer and lowered my voice. As long as the one in my womb disappears, won't yours be legitimate? She jerked her head up, staring at me in disbelief. What do you mean? I held her gaze, enunciating every word. I can help you. She was completely stunned. Behind me, Asher's face had darkened to the color of storm water. I invited Vivian to leave. She wandered out, soul still shell-shocked. My offer had clearly terrified her. The moment the door shut, Asher exploded. Have you lost it? You'd gamble with our child. His voice quivered with suppressed fury and disappointment. Who says I'm using our baby? I rolled my eyes. Then what was that act? Performance, get it? I snapped. If the show isn't convincing, how do we fool that old fox Griffin? Asher froze. You mean Vivian is the grand present we're handing Griffin? I sneered. Who knows if the kid in her belly is even his? Even if it is, an illegitimate brat versus a lawful heir. Which do you think the Vance elders will choose? Asher's eyes lit up. I get it. You'll use her to torch Griffin's backyard. More than that. I shook my head. I want Griffin to personally destroy the thing he treasures most. Next morning, Griffin indeed got Vivian's call. She sobbed her heart out, claiming I'd barred her from the house and threatened to abort her baby. Furious, Griffin raced home. He burst in shouting, Sophie, what fresh lunacy is this? I sat on the sofa, sipping tea, not even glancing at him. Lunacy? CEO Vance, are you confused? Yesterday your little mistress came knocking, and I entertained her with perfect courtesy. Still arguing. Griffin's face turned livid. Vivian told me everything. You threatened her. I threatened her? I laughed. By telling her to give birth, so she can fight for the Vance fortune. Griffin choked. I set the cup down, stood, and walked up to him. Griffin, Get this straight. I'm carrying the Vance family's legitimate heir. She's nothing but a shameless homewrecker. I poked his chest. If you're so capable, turn her unborn child into a legitimate one. Go tell grandfather. Go tell the board. Let's see whether they pick me or a two-bit actress. Griffin's complexion flashed red then white. He couldn't squeeze out a word.
Just then my phone rang.
I checked. Unknown number. I answered on speaker. A man's frantic voice spilled out, "Hello? Sterling?"
Trouble.
Lane fell down the grand staircase. The baby might not survive. I froze. Griffin froze too, then snatched my phone.
What?
Which hospital? After getting the address, he bolted out without even looking at me. Watching him vanish, I slowly curved my lips. The real show had only just begun. I turned to Asher leaning against the wall, calm and composed. "You're doing?" I asked. "Not me." He shook his head. "But I know who."
Who?
"Someone who hates Griffin as much as we do." Griffin returned the next afternoon, haggard, eyes bloodshot. He opened his mouth when he saw me, then collapsed onto the sofa. "The baby's gone," he muttered. "Oh," I answered flatly, emotionless. He jerked his head up, anger flickering. "That's all you can say." "What else?" I countered. "Should I weep bitterly for your mistress's miscarriage?" He was speechless. After a long while he sighed in defeat. "Sophie, let's talk." "About what?" "I know you hate me," he said, "but the child is innocent. For the baby's sake, let's start over, okay?" He looked at me, almost pleading. I nearly laughed. Start over? On what grounds did he think that possible, just because of the fetus I carried? "Griffin," I said slowly, "have you forgotten how you treated me?" His face paled. You hired a body double, cooked up a surrogate womb scheme, and treated me like a breeding machine." I sneered. "Now your spare tool has miscarried, so you remember the original? Don't you think it's a bit late?" All color drained from him. I had no choice back then," he protested. "Grandfather was pressuring me. The board was circling like vultures. I needed a child to secure my position. So you sacrificed me?" "I never meant to hurt you," he burst out, standing. I just found me dirty, didn't want to touch me, right?" I finished for him. He stood frozen. His pathetic figure struck me as laughable. "Spare me the hypocrisy, Griffin." I rose and looked down at him. "I will never start over with you. Never." I turned to go upstairs. He seized my wrist, so hard I felt bones creak. "Sophie." "Don't push me," he hissed, madness sparking in his eyes. A chill shot through me. "Let go." Instead, he yanked me into his arms, locking me tight. "Think carrying my child lets you do whatever you want," he whispered, voice cold as a viper. "Better behave, or I have ways to make your life hell." I went ice cold. Suddenly a shadow flashed over. One punch that sent Griffin crashing into the coffee table. Asher stepped between us like a raging beast, danger radiating from every pore. He glanced back, anxious. "You okay?" I shook my head, still trembling. Griffin scrambled up, wiping blood from his lip, disbelief on his face. You dare hit me?" Asher stared at him as if he were already dead. "Touch her again, and find out." Griffin lost it completely. Mutiny. A body double raising a hand to me. He pointed at Asher, then at me.
"Fine.
You two planned this together. No point pretending anymore." I laid the cards out.
So, what if we did?
I slipped my arm through Asher's and smirked at Griffin. "Vance, realizing it now, aren't you a little late?" Griffin's eyes turned bloodshot. Like a mad bull, he charged. "I'll kill you, adulterous bastards." Griffin never made it to us. Asher kicked him in the chest, so hard and fast that an ordinary man couldn't have managed it. Griffin curled on the marble, groaning, unable to rise. Without a glance at him, Asher took my hand and led me out. "We're leaving." "Where to?" "Out of this hell." I looked back once. Griffin lay like a dead dog, and a dark, Sweet thrill rushed through me. I followed Asher and never looked back as we walked out of Vance. Only when we were in the car did I ask, what really happened with Vivian? She bribed a hired to stage a beating, he said, eyes on the road. She thought the stunt would wring pity from Griffin and force you to step aside. Smart plan, stupid woman, I sneered. There's more. He slid me a sideways glance. The hired was on my payroll. I stared. You? I already knew she wanted a show, so I gave her one, he answered, calm as if discussing the weather. I simply turned the act into reality. A cold breath hissed between my teeth. So she really lost the baby? Yes. I studied his profile and felt a chill. This man was far more dangerous than I'd guessed, ruthless and meticulous to a terrifying degree. How do you know so much about Griffin's company? I asked. Where there's a will, there's a back door, he muttered, clearly unwilling to elaborate, and I let it drop. Everyone keeps secrets. The gates of a fortified compound I'd never seen before rose ahead. We stopped in front of a stately, standalone mansion. Where are we? My place. He stepped out and opened my door. From today, you live here. Inside, the decor whispered understated luxury, taste on a level that reeked of old money, light years above the cash-drenched vulgarity of Vance. Who exactly are you? I couldn't help asking. He poured me a glass of water and sat beside me. A man who wants to avenge his family. At last, he opened the lock on his past. The Cross and Vance families had once been inseparable. His father and Victor had been like brothers. A business dispute turned bloody. Victor swallowed the Cross empire whole, drove Asher's father to jump from a 32nd floor balcony. His mother collapsed from grief and followed her husband to the grave within months. Overnight, Asher fell from privilege to pavement. Shunted abroad, he drifted, survived, and swore the Vances would pay in blood. He buried his name, mapped every move, and waited until Griffin posted the clandestine ad for a body double. Opportunity had knocked wearing a silicone mask. So from day one you came for revenge, I said. Yes. He inclined his head. But I never meant to meet you. The glance he gave me held a gentleness, a guilt I'd never seen before.
Sophie, I'm sorry.
Dragging you in wasn't part of the plan. I shook my head. You didn't drag me in, you pulled me out. If not for him, I would have rotted under Griffin's shadow forever. He armed me with courage and a shot at a new life. Asher, I said, meeting his gaze, thank you. He blinked, then smiled. Winter sunlight breaking over frost, melting every shard of ice inside me. I should be the one thanking you.
His phone rang.
He listened, face darkening. Understood. He pocketed the cell and turned to me. The Vance Family Council has been called. My stomach clenched. About? Griffin's rightful heir status, he answered, eyes glittering. And the baby you're carrying. The council was set for 3 days later. Griffin never came near me in that time, but I knew he was tearing the city apart hunting us. The compound's security was airtight. No Vance thug could slip within a mile of me, and for the first time in months, I tasted something like safety. Asher stayed close. Breakfasts, movies, twilight walks on the manicured paths. We played house, an ordinary couple wrapped in quiet warmth, and I began to crave the illusion even while knowing the tempest would strike soon enough. When the day arrived, Asher himself drove me back to Vance. The car stopped at the familiar stone steps. I drew a steadying breath and stepped out. He flanked me at once. Don't be afraid. I'm here. I nodded, and together we walked into the gilded cage that had once suffocated me. The drawing room was packed, silver-haired uncles, aunts, every board member the family could summon. Victor presided from the center seat, face like a thundercloud. Griffin occupied the chair beneath him, pallid, eyes seething. Every head snapped toward us the instant we crossed the threshold. Contempt, derision, barely masked glee. Sophie, you dare show your face? An uncle roared, slamming the table. Why wouldn't I? I shot back. I'm still a Vance daughter-in-law, and I carry the next heir. The old man sputtered, speechless. Enough, Victor commanded, voice razor-sharp. His blade of a gaze fixed on me. Explain. What is your relationship with this man? He jabbed a finger toward Asher. Before I could speak, Griffin leapt up. Father. It's her. She and this bastard plotted against me. They want to swallow the Vance empire. Tears streamed down his face, a performance worthy of an Oscar. I watched, coldly amused. Griffin, swear on your life everything you just said is true. Of course I swear. Good. I pulled a voice recorder from my purse. Then let's hear the truth together. I pressed play. The room filled with Griffin's unmistakable drawl and Asher's calm replies. Once she's pregnant, you'll vanish from the planet. The entire surrogate womb scheme echoed through the hush. Every board member's complexion turned a different shade of sick. Victor's jowls quivered. The paper-thin skin over his cheekbones went livid. He spun toward his son. What is this? Lies. Griffin screamed. Fabrications. They set me up. Forged. I laughed. Do you think everyone here is an idiot? I swept my gaze across the directors. Uncles, board members. Do you still believe a man who would pawn his own blood for convenience deserves to inherit the Vance conglomerate? Silence, but their eyes had already voted. Victor swayed, clutching the armrest. You disgrace. He swung. The slap echoed like a pistol shot. Our name is mud because of you. Griffin sprawled, blood on his lip, despair and venom churning in his stare. Sophie, you bitch. I'll destroy you. Will you? I met his glare without flinching. Worry about saving yourself first. I turned to Victor. Chairman Vance, do you still insist the child in my womb is a family shame? Victor's mouth opened, but no syllable crawled out. Then Asher, silent until now, spoke. That baby has nothing to do with the Vances. His quiet words detonated like grenades. Every head whipped toward him, mine included. He offered me a small, reassuring smile, then faced Victor. Because I am not the body double you hired. In front of the entire council, he peeled away a thin silicon mask. Beneath lay a face nothing like Griffin's, angular, fiercely handsome, authority etched in every line. Griffin recoiled as though he'd seen a ghost. Victor's finger lifted, trembling, his complexion corpse-white. You're the crosshair. Correct. Asher's smile turned arctic. Chairman Vance, long time no see. My name is Asher. The entire Vance was wrapped in a silence, so utter it felt like death. You could have heard a pin drop. Everyone was still reeling, unable to process the staggering reversal they had just witnessed. The Cross family, once the undisputed kings of Riverdale's old money circuit, vanished overnight. Legend said the Vance clan had driven them to ruin, leaving their bloodline scattered and broken. Now their rightful heir, Asher, had stepped back into the spotlight in the most spectacular fashion possible, as Griffin's hired body double. The drama eclipsed anything Hollywood could script. Victor sagged in his chair, face the color of cold ash. Staring at Asher, his eyes brimmed with pure terror. What are you doing back here? What am I doing? Asher smiled, yet the warmth never reached his eyes. I'm here to reclaim everything that was already mine. He advanced a single pace and unleashed the full force of his presence. The weight of it pressed down until every soul in the room forgot how to breathe. Including the blood debt your family owes mine. His gaze swept across every board member assembled. Gentlemen, today I'm here to discuss a business proposal. From his briefcase, he drew a thick stack of papers and tossed them onto the table. Inside you'll find proof of the Vance's tax evasion, cooked books, and insider trades spanning the last decade. The board's expressions twisted in alarm. Each man grabbed a file. The deeper they read, the paler they grew, until their hands shook uncontrollably. These pages were the smoking gun that could obliterate the entire empire. M. Cross, one stammered. What do you want? Simple, Asher replied coolly. 50% of the Vance signed over to me. Otherwise, this package lands on the Federal Audit Office's desk tomorrow morning. A naked threat, Yet no one dared object. They knew Asher had both the will and the leverage. The papers in his grip were their jugular. Victor looked from Asher to the board, already wavering, and understood the war was lost. His eyelids sank in defeat. "You have a deal." The 3 words emptied him of every remaining ounce of strength. In that instant, he seemed to age 10 years. Griffin stood frozen, a statue of disbelief. The stand-in he had toyed with had become the crown prince capable of signing his death warrant. The woman he despised as worthless had delivered the final blow. "No, impossible, this is a dream," he muttered. Suddenly, he lunged at me like a madman. "It's you. You bitch. This is all your fault." Asher's eyes turned to ice as he stepped between us. Without hesitation, he drove his foot into Griffin's chest and sent him sprawling. This time Griffin did not rise. He lay crumpled on the rug, a broken puppet whose strings had been severed. Asher walked over and gazed down at him. "Griffin, the game is finished." Outside, sunshine drenched the driveway as we exited the gates. I glanced back at the opulent mausoleum of secrets I was leaving behind. From this day forward, nothing inside those walls concerned me. I climbed into Asher's car, calm such as I had never known settling in my chest. "When did you gather all that evidence?" I asked. "From the moment I decided to settle the score," he answered. He told me the years abroad had not been idle. Using his hacking genius, he built an intelligence web, stockpiling leverage while amassing power, every bite aimed at this coup de grace. Then, was getting close to me part of the plan? Silence ballooned between us. At last he pulled to the curb and met my gaze. "Yes and no," he said. "At first you weren't even in the blueprint. My goal was simply to infiltrate as Griffin's double and steal the Vance crown jewels." "So what changed?" Later, he gave a rueful chuckle. "I read your file." To perfect his impersonation, he had devoured every scrap of data on Griffin, including me. He saw my childhood, the hopeless crush I once nursed, the cold transaction that had married the sterling girl to the Vance heir. "I remember thinking," he said, voice soft, "how could any girl be so heartbreakingly naive?" My heart twisted. "So, from the start you pitied me?" "Not pity," he denied. "More like, my heart lurched." I stared. "I can't explain it," he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "The instant I saw your picture, I felt as if I'd known you forever." "You agreed to be Griffin's double for revenge and to reach me?" He inclined his head. A tangle of shock, gratitude, and sweetness clogged my throat. "Then the baby," he began, suddenly awkward. Actually, I never touched you that night," he confessed. "I put you under. The blood on the sheet was stage blood." I turned to stone. "Then why?" "Because I couldn't stomach you carrying that scum Griffin's child," he said, eyes fierce. "You deserve better." "The ultrasound?" "I had it faked," he said. "Only by cornering Griffin could I force him to expose himself, and only that could free you from him." Words deserted me. How many moves had this man played on my behalf, each calculated yet tender? Tears blurred my vision. "Asher, you impossible liar." He panicked, fumbling for a tissue. "Please don't cry, I didn't mean to hurt you." His flustered desperation bubbled a laugh out of me even as the tears fell faster. I wrapped my arms around him. "Asher, thank you. Thank you for lighting my world at its darkest, for scripting this flawless performance to protect me." His rigid frame relaxed, arms encircling me. "You sentimental fool." The Vance toppled overnight. Asher purged the board with surgical ruthlessness, replacing Victor's loyalists with his own soldiers. The conglomerate became an empty banner fluttering over conquered territory. Victor collapsed with a stroke and would spend the rest of his days in a wheelchair. Griffin was sentenced for multiple counts of financial fraud and assault. Rumor said his fellow inmates were queuing to thank him for old debts. The mighty Vance dynasty imploded with a speed that left heads spinning. I walked away clean, relocating from Asher's mansion to a modest loft apartment where I intended to start fresh. He didn't stop me, yet he appears at my door almost daily, never the CEO in tailored armor, just the boy who makes soup and tells bad jokes. He wanders whole beside me, browses weekend markets, stretches beside me on the sun-drenched balcony. Ordinary life, fragrant with everyday sparks. One evening, as he plates the dinner he's brought, I study his silhouette against the kitchen light. Asher, you don't have to come every day. You're busy. His hand stills, he turns. I'm never too busy for what matters. This is my job. My heart hiccups. What exactly are we now? What do you think? I don't know. He cups my face, forcing my gaze to meet the heat in his. I want to be your child's real father. Breath freezes in my lungs. But I'm not pregnant. I know. The corner of his mouth lifts. So let's start trying right now. His face lowers, breath warm against my skin. My pulse skitters. Instinctively, I close my eyes. The kiss doesn't come. Confused, I peek. He's grinning wickedly. I sputter, cheeks on fire. In one fluid move, he scoops me into his arms. Put me down, since when are you my boyfriend? You closed your eyes, he murmurs against my ear. That's consent in any language.
Dust.
There was dust. Then allow me to clear it. Argument ends as his mouth captures mine, thoroughly, until the room spins. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate our story? If you enjoyed it, please like and share with friends. We look forward to your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales.
See you next time.